intentar seguir añadiendo ideas y reflexiones sobre este 25 aniversario del proceso de Barcelona, el proceso euromediterráneo que comenzó en el año 95, los días 27 y 28 de noviembre, exactamente. Y esta conferencia pretendía transformar el Mediterráneo en una zona de paz, democracia, cooperación y prosperidad. Pero los problemas políticos, económicos y sociales en el Mediterráneo, que constituían en aquel momento un desafío común, siguen hasta hoy, pues yo diría que se ha multiplicado este desafío y que el resultado de esta conferencia no está a la altura de los objetivos que se pretendía ni a las esperanzas que los pueblos mediterráneos en aquel momento depositaron en este proceso. La tragedia humana que se vive en el Mediterráneo es un claro reflejo de los desequilibrios existentes. 25 años después del proceso de Barcelona, muchos de los objetivos siguen siendo válidos. Hay que trabajar para mejorar la prosperidad compartida, basada en las relaciones sur-sur, norte-sur. Europa sigue siendo el primer socio económico y comercial de los países de la parte sur y oriental del Mediterráneo, pero los últimos acontecimientos, desde la crisis financiera, primavera árabe, la crisis de los refugiados y hoy la pandemia del COVID-19, vienen a reforzar la necesidad de trabajar juntos para lograr los objetivos que Barcelona estableció hace 25 años. Hoy más que nunca, los temas económicos y de inversión se deben introducir en un debate que en esos momentos se encuentra dominado por cuestiones de seguridad y de inmigración. Es preciso plantear nuevas ideas, propuestas audaces, dar fuerza a la integración económica. Todavía estamos a tiempo de conseguir un nuevo equilibrio, dar fuerza para evitar más pesadillas, de adoptar medidas concretas a favor del comercio, la inversión, el movimiento de las personas para el beneficio mutuo, en resumen, a favor del desarrollo para intentar crear un horizonte de esperanza. Ascami ha sido pionera en el lanzamiento de una estrategia integral que apuesta por el crecimiento basado en la buena gobernanza, el desarrollo de una clase media fuerte, la cohesión social, la urgencia de una reactivación por la asfixia económica y financiera producida por el COVID, nos indica también que necesitamos sentar las bases de un nuevo modelo de desarrollo económico diferente, basado en promover y potenciar la innovación, la digitalización, la economía verde, la economía azul del mar, pero también en hacer que nuestros sectores motores en el Mediterráneo, como son el turismo, el textil, la agricultura, la alimentación, y entre otros, sean sectores sostenibles. Hoy vamos a tener con nosotros dos personalidades que estoy seguro nos van a aportar luces e ideas sobre cómo tenemos que seguir en este proceso, pero cómo también tenemos que enfocar, no solamente desde el sector privado, sino también desde los gobiernos que tienen la principal labor de intentar implementar este proceso, que hoy es más necesario que nunca después de haber visto esos días como China y 15 países de Asia en el Pacífico acaban de crear una zona de libre comercio entre países que tienen el mismo, digamos, el nivel que el Mediterráneo, países que están en la primera economía, pero también países que están en economías en desarrollo. Hoy, como he dicho, tenemos con nosotros esas dos personalidades. Sin más, quiero agradecer a Krista Schwen, la presidenta del Comité Económico Social Europeo, su presencia, y a Fathallah Sijelmasi, Fathallah Sijelmasi, ex secretario general de la Unión por el Mediterráneo, también está con nosotros. Sin más, doy la palabra a Krista Schwen.
Buenos días también desde Viena. Voy a continuar en inglés. Distinguished participants, I'm very honored to welcome you today and to open this 12th edition of the Mediterranean Women Entrepreneurs Forum. I would particularly like to thank Maria Elena de Felipe for the invitation, as she is not only the president of one of the organizers, the Federation of Organizations of Mediterranean Businesswomen, but also an extremely active member of the European Economic and Social Committee. Congratulations for that, dear Maria Elena. As you have understood, I represent the European Economic and Social Committee, and I was elected as a new president end of October. Our committee is an advisory body to the European Union that represents employers, trade unions, and other civil society organizations like NGOs, consumers, people with disabilities, farmers, young people. I myself come from the employers group. Our key mission is to make the voice of organized civil society heard at European level by the European institutions, and we ensure that European policies reflect the situation on the ground more accurately and that they are better understood in the EU countries. Ladies and gentlemen, this year the Meta Women Entrepreneurship Forum is held in the context of the 25th anniversary of the Barcelona process. A quarter of a century has passed since the launch of this process that aims to strengthen relations between Europe and the southern Mediterranean countries. In this period, the trade volume between the two shores of the Mediterranean has grown at an average annual rate of 8%, reaching nearly 10% of the EU's total external trade during the last year. However, this anniversary also comes at a time of great disruption. The current health crisis notably has a severe economic and social impact on both shores of the Mediterranean, and women have been particularly hard hit by the hardship unleashed by the pandemic. Businesses struggle to survive and to keep their employees, people lose their jobs, and social inequalities are deepening. COVID-19 has a stark reminder of the need for tangible and coordinated cooperation across borders, sectors, and generations. Our collective response will determine how fast the region recovers after the pandemic. We certainly need to become more resilient for the future. Our efforts to recover from the crisis are also an opportunity to put in place a different post-COVID world, more prosperous, greener, digital, and socially inclusive. It is also time for a great push for gender equality in all fields and for rethinking women's role in the economy. Women are at the forefront of the battle against COVID-19, very often risking their lives to save others. They represent 70% of the health and social sector workforce globally. Unfortunately, they are still underrepresented at institutional, political, and economic levels. There is a continuing gender gap in terms of entrepreneurship, which translates into fewer women entrepreneurs all over the world. A recent report of the European Investment Bank and the Commission observes that in Europe, women represent roughly 52% of the overall population in Europe, but constitute only 34% of the self-employed in the European Union and 30% of its startup entrepreneurs. This is an unexploited potential for economic growth. Also, self-employed women are less well-off than self-employed men. 76% of self-employed women in the EU are own account workers without employees, compared to 69% of men. Giving more credit and support to women entrepreneurs makes totally sense, and not only from a social perspective, but also from an economical perspective. Women can play a decisive role in recovery. The businesses that they tend to lead be more productive, faster growing, and innovative. According to the European Commission, improvements to gender equality could create 10.5 million jobs by 2050 and boost the EU economy by between 1.95 and 3.15 trillion euros. In general, achieving gender equality in all fields is particularly critical to improve the labor market situation of young women and men in the Mediterranean region, a region with the highest youth unemployment worldwide. Entrepreneurship is also a clear opportunity for women's own economic independence. It also allows them to network and to avoid being isolated, especially the women in small towns or rural environments. Female entrepreneurship must therefore always also be supported in several ways. The objective is to allow them to succeed in emerging and growing sectors like the ICT, green economy, Industry 4.0, e-commerce. To give some examples, entrepreneurship education should be mainstreamed into education and training. It should also be more practice-oriented. Women need targeted funding, guidance, and business services. We need to remove structural barriers with regard to access to finance. Mentoring business champions and innovative forms of financing can be useful to overcome barriers. We need to tackle segregation and stereotypes and encourage girls and women to be active in certain male-dominated sectors such as ICT. In Europe, only 10% of women pursue a career in these fields. Addressing the digital gender gap is also a must. The coronavirus crisis has showed us the importance of being digital, be resilient, and be resilient to crisis. Digital technologies have become an essential tool, allowing us to deliver during this pandemic. It is true for governments, legislature, and public institutions, and it is true for businesses. Allow me to say a few more words on digitalization, as it is now an integral component of the economic recovery plan. The digital transformation is having a far-reaching impact on the business environment. New technologies can offer numerous opportunities, and companies that become competent and move quickly in these areas during the crisis will have a strategic advantage over their competitors in the post-pandemic economy. We need to find a way to take advantage of the opportunities of digitalization, allowing SMEs, large companies, and non-profit economic actors, as well as workers and consumers, to benefit alike. To mention just a few of the opportunities linked to the digitalization and new technologies. Productivity can be improved by enabling innovation and reducing the costs of business processes. Trends such as e-commerce, big data, artificial intelligence, and the Internet of Things could lead to large productivity gains for the economy. Digital innovation hubs, which are being set up in many local economic systems in Europe, are very useful. These hubs act as a one-stop shops where companies, especially SMEs and startups, can get access to technology testing, financing advice, market intelligence, and networking opportunities. The involvement of social partners and civil society can ensure that the work done by the hubs is tailored to the needs of local businesses and workers. Digitalization also offers a great potential for sustainability. We need to support digital solutions that allow us to protect the environment and green sectors like transport, energy, construction, and agriculture. Digitalization has also played a role in the Arab Spring, the social movement of major importance for the Mediterranean region. These movements would never have gained their force without the use of smartphones and social media. Women accounted for 60% of protesters of the Arab Spring movements. To reap opportunities offered by digitalization, we need to improve the digital capacity of businesses and in particular of SMEs. Also, equipping people with the right skills all lifelong is key. Many workers in the EU still need support with the basics of digitalization, and I'm sure that the southern Mediterranean businesses are facing the same challenges. We also have to pay attention to the challenges posed by digitalization being inclusive. mind the gap between digital natives and older people and addressing it through education and digital training, tackle the income disparities, improve the access to social security, promote constructive and social dialogue. Dear participants, let me finish with a quote from the Stanford economist Paul Romer. A crisis is a terrible thing to waste. I hope our decision makers will not lose the opportunity to give full support to female entrepreneurs. It is not only a matter of fairness towards women and equity, but it's also a way to unleash growth in our economies and societies. Thank you very much for your attention. I look forward to very interesting discussions and send warm greetings from cold Vienna to beautiful Barcelona. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Krista, y felicidades por la elección de hace un mes. Estamos seguros que va a ser acierto y éxito este mandato en el Comité Económico Social Europeo. Yo, es decir, estoy de acuerdo totalmente con lo que se plantea, pero sobre todo con un tema principal. Sin la participación de la mujer en la economía mediterránea, sobre todo en las economías del sur y la parte oriental, no habrá desarrollo económico y no habrá integración económica. No se puede tener al 50% de la sociedad apartada del desarrollo económico ni de su incorporación a participar en la economía. El siguiente ponente presentar a Fathallah es fácil y es complicado. Es una de las personalidades que conoce muy bien, digamos, Europa, conoce muy bien el Mediterráneo. Es diplomático, es experto en economía, en comercio, pero también por su último cargo como secretario general de la Unión por el Mediterráneo y durante bastantes años, en lo cual su mandato creo que ha dado un impulso importante a esta unión, pues ha conocido y ha vivido, digamos, todos los acontecimientos que antes hemos mencionado, pero sobre todo estoy seguro que sus ideas y sus aportaciones nos van a ayudar muchísimo a intentar reflexionar y sobre todo para nosotros del sector privado, a reafirmar un poco nuestra idea y de que sin desarrollo económico no habrá, o sea, sin desarrollo económico, sin integración económica entre Europa y el Mediterráneo, no habrá solución al medio ni a corto plazo. Sin más, Fathallah, sin más.
Thank you very much, Anwar, and warmest greetings from Rabat, Morocco. Sunny weather here. But really, I'm very happy to be part again of this midweek session. And of course, I am disappointed that we could not be physically in Barcelona because one of the main added values of the excellent midweek, as it was every year, is the networking and the people-to-people and the connections that can be made alongside the conference. But nevertheless, I would like to congratulate ASCAME, its president, its general coordinator, Anwar, and the whole ASCAME, and specifically the midweek team, to have had the courage and the strengths and the efficiency to organize this event with all the appropriate technological tools which allow us once again to be present in this yearly event that has become indeed a very important and a major rendezvous for all stakeholders, all the friends of the Mediterranean, all the believers in the fact that we share common interests, we share a common future, and despite the challenges, and maybe because of the challenges, we need to continue working harder and harder together in order to move forward. Allow me, since I'm taking the floor at this stage in this opening speech for the day, to congratulate Madame Christa Schwenk on her appointment as President of the European Economic and Social Committee, an institution that I know well and I have a lot of admiration for its work. And I'm sure that Madame Schwenk will put all her energy and expertise in engaging even more the Economic and Social Committee to new heights, and in meeting also with all the challenges that Europe, its neighborhood, and the world actually is witnessing nowadays. Allow me also to say a few special words to my good friend Maria Elena De Filippe and AFAEME on this excellent initiative to organize within the framework of the MEDA Week a specific event on the gender dimension, which, as has been said earlier, is a key dimension within the framework of any dynamic, any positive dynamic that can be introduced in our part of the world. So I really would like to congratulate Maria Elena De Filippe and wish all the best for this day of work that I will follow very closely. And indeed, there are a lot of initiatives that have already been enacted, and AFAEME has always been a key player in implementing concrete projects and initiatives on the ground and being the platform to promote connections and initiatives between appropriate people around this thematic. But of course, it's always an opportunity to do more, to have new ideas, and to give a new impulse to these dynamics. Within the framework of my introductory speech today, I would like to share with you three main ideas for the sake of contributing to the debates of today, but also to the debates that have been going on for the last 3 days within the framework of the MEDA Week. The first message, the first idea is that obviously we have a new context in our part of the world. It is true that we are commemorating in a few days the 25th anniversary of the Barcelona Declaration in November 95. It is true also that everything that had been written, decided in November 95 remains relevant, remains valid. And I always recommend to any personality, any person willing to or having an interest specifically in the Mediterranean, to reread the declaration, the Barcelona Declaration. Rereading it, or just reading it for the first time maybe, is very, very interesting, because you see how much all the points that have been raised in November 95, 25 years ago, are still valid and relevant today. Nevertheless, we need to stick to the essential, which is the relevance of these objectives, and to adapt them to a new context. And today there is a new context. The pandemic created a new context. Now, this pandemic did not act as a disruption to anything that would be new after the pandemic. It more acted as an accelerator of a certain number of trends that already had started before, but that the pandemic crisis has clearly and significantly accelerated. Let me here share with you two subpoints in this first point. The first one is that what the pandemic crisis, we are still not over the crisis, by the way, we are still in it, but we have to deal with the short-term effects of the crisis, but also to project and to forecast to a larger vision. And one of the aspects of this larger vision is that we are seeing a reshape in the global value chains around the world. And as Anwar very rightly pointed out earlier, the free trade agreement that has been signed just a few days ago by China in 15 countries of the ASEAN is a clear indicator that some dynamics are being accelerated in shaping global value chains around the world. And I'm among those who continue believing in multilateralism and international relations and in the global economy. But it is true that there will be a higher degree of regionalism within the framework of this multilateralism, and this will inevitably lead to reshaping global value chains into implementing most probably regional value chains. And there will be some evolutions that unfortunately I don't have the time to develop in more detail today, but certainly this is a very clear trend. The second subpoint that I wanted to share with you within this first point is the fact that on a sectorial basis, on a thematic basis, there is a clear indication also that the reshape of the economy, or rather on the priorities of the economy, will be built around three thematics that I wanted to share with you. The first one is what economists are progressively calling the life economy, the economy of life, the economy of care, in a broader sense than the sense that was used maybe earlier, before the pandemic crisis, that encompasses health, education, and food security. These are essential, vital elements. This is why it's the economy of life, the economy of care, things that are sectors that are vital and close to the population, and we saw how much it was important during the sanitary crisis that we are witnessing today. The second block is the green economy. I think that, and the third block is the digital economy that Madame Schwenk developed very rightly and with very specific details and very eloquently. And it is true that growth in the future, development and growth, will be more human, more social, will be greener, and will be more digital. And these are the main elements that will carry the different development strategies that will need to be implemented and that the pandemic crisis has accelerated as the need for implementation. The second point I wanted to share with you is within that framework, within the framework of the first point, there is more than ever the need for increased regional cooperation. One country alone, and we saw it all throughout this crisis, one country alone cannot deal with the different challenges that are occurring today. And this is why it is so important to continue strengthening regional cooperation, and to that effect, initiatives like the MEDA Week and the forthcoming Barcelona conference at the end of the week, the Regional Forum of the Union for the Mediterranean, and so many other initiatives are so important, because at the end of the day, what is needed is to build collective resilience. If we were in 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, the key word would have been competitiveness, talking about the economic side, of course. The key word would have been competitiveness. I think the key word will become resilience, collective resilience. And this can only be built within the framework of a broader regional scope, and certainly regional cooperation is more important than ever. Now, regional cooperation requires two things. Requires a strong political will that has to always be reiterated, as I am sure it will be reiterated in a few days in Barcelona by the leaders who will be meeting, even if it's virtually, but they will be meeting in order to confirm this regional cooperation willingness and to strengthen it, but also throughout through the implementation of concrete projects and initiatives. And I really would like to underline the importance of it, the importance of implementation of projects and initiatives, because at the end of the day, populations need tangible results to all the visions and strategies that are foreseen and that are necessary to be designed, but then they need to be implemented through the project and initiative. And it is here that I would like to commend once more work that is being carried out by AFAEME, for example, on all the gender issue aspects, women entrepreneurship, women education, inclusiveness. And I have been personally a witness of the impact, the very positive impact of these projects carried out by institutions and organizations such as AFAEME. They make the difference. It is true that we need to do more, we need to amplify, we need to scale up, but these projects make a difference. And this is very important, and good politics should also enable institutions, organizations, initiatives such as those, and such as so many that are being carried out within the framework of the UFM, within the framework of other initiatives. It's very important to scale up, to broaden the impact, and to support them further in order to do more, because they are going in the right direction to give content, substance to the political willingness to increase regional cooperation. And I think that within the framework of the pandemic, it's more important than ever. My third and final message is that when you talk about the regional dimension, here also for the last decade, and specifically since November 95, one would talk about the Euro-Mediterranean region, which is, as I said earlier, it's still relevant more than ever. But very obviously, one needs to go beyond this Euro-Mediterranean, strictly geographical dimension, and to include the global African dimension. There is a clear need to build a stronger regional cooperation, regional integration, regional resilience in the Euro-Mediterranean Africa global region. And I think this also will be one of the major trends that will come out of the post-pandemic crisis, As I said, it had started before, and the pandemic crisis is not disruptive in that perspective, is an accelerator of its reality that I think needs not only the political decisions that will be taken in the appropriate frameworks, but also need institutions and initiatives and events such as the MEDA Week that can become the MEDA Africa Week. And my good friend Anwar Zibawi already years ago had started inviting colleagues from other African countries in the continent to participate in the meetings, to have specific events also. And I think this is exactly the kind of initiatives that we need to continue doing, promoting these people-to-people, entrepreneur-to-entrepreneur, stakeholders to stakeholder, because at the end of the day, everything that we are talking about has a human dimension, and this is our collective capital, so to speak. And this is why I'm very happy to participate very humbly in this session, and look very much forward to listening to the discussions, to the debates, and interacting with all the colleagues. Again, a very special thanks to all, warmest greetings from Rabat, and looking very much forward to seeing all of you as soon as possible and when the circumstances will allow us to do so. Many thanks.
Muchas gracias, Fathallah. Yo os recomiendo el último libro que ha escrito Fathallah, que estamos de acuerdo, que el futuro de Europa está en el sur. Bueno, yo solo me queda ya clausurar este acto y también a nivel institucional esta MEDA Week 2020. Quiero agradecer primero las dos personalidades que hoy han participado con nosotros. Quiero agradecer todas las organizaciones que han colaborado con nosotros durante esos 3 días en organizar los eventos, en colaborar con nosotros en otras tareas. Pero sobre todo, hoy quiero agradecer a Ghassan Aidi, presidente de la Asociación Internacional de Hoteles, que más tarde a las 12 va a participar en la inauguración del Foro de Hoteles, y sobre todo a Elena de Felipe. Yo creo que ni AFAYEM ni MEDA Week serían las mismas sin la participación y sin la implicación de la Elena de Felipe en estas tareas. Yo en mi nombre personal, aunque soy amigo de Elena y creo que mi testimonio es bastante cuestionado, pero también en nombre de ASCAME, quiero agradecer a Elena Felipe toda la labor que ha hecho y toda la implicación que ha estado haciendo con ASCAME y con MEDA Week. Pero no quiero olvidar algo que es muy importante. Durante esos meses hay un equipo que ha estado trabajando duro, con presión, en una situación complicada, en una situación de pandemia. Un equipo que ha intentado que hagamos MEDA Week y que lo hagamos de la mejor forma posible. Este equipo tiene nombres. Se llaman Anabel, Ana, Bianca, Luis, Fernanda y Diana. Ese es el equipo de la Secretaría General que ha estado trabajando durante esos meses y algunas noches sin dormir, que sin ellos era imposible llegar a organizar este evento. Gracias a todos, y os dejo ya con el foro de las mujeres empresarias del Mediterráneo. Muchas gracias.